you have heart. Donatello, you have wisdom. Raphael, you have bravery. And Leonardo, honor.
Enough talk! I dream about fighting every night.
You've got a rage problem, right?
You first met them in a comic book in the early 80s, staples for the next couple of decades, and they are back. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles return to big screens today. The 7th reboot in movies of the Turtles, the 4 crime fighters roaming New York City's underground with their rat master Splinter. Recognize the voice? I know we're going to be talking about that. Talking about it not just with Eli, but Eli and Jackson. Now, when you both appear, I know this is like a singular
it's an event.
cinematic moment here. All for the Turtles?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I mean,
God.
let's pay respect to the Turtles. They have
okay.
survived. They have evolved. There's been various iterations. Yes, here we are again with another reboot. But yeah, both Jackson and I to dig our teeth in.
Okay. In something that is new and fresh and exciting, Eli. What's that?
Incredibly new and fresh. So let me set it up for you, because
up.
there's a great opening part to this film. And so we're in New York City. We see the Turtles. They're in their masks. They've got their weapons. They're bounding over the New York City skyline. They're in silhouette. I'm going to play you a clip, and it's going to start with almost that kind of classic Turtle, almost samurai style. Very serious, very moody. But then you're going to notice a little mood shift, a little vibe shift, you may say. Let's take a look.
Master Splinter has given us a very important mission for tonight. The target is across the street. We must use stealth and cunning to infiltrate the human world and retrieve Go-Gurt.
Okay, Batman.
Dude, what? I'm just trying to hype you guys up, okay?
Give me that list, okay? What else are we getting?
That is the deal. So these Turtles are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They are teenagers first.
Emphasis on teenage.
Emphasis on the teenagers. And so this is a film which is produced in part by Seth Rogen. And they had, which doesn't seem like a radical idea, but realizing like we've had mostly adults voicing these turtle characters, but they're supposed to be basically kids who grew up, yes, mutant turtles in the sewer, but they're teens. What do teens do? How do teens act? And so that is why basically for this film, they have put the teenagers in the spotlight. And the way you do that is by casting actual teenagers, putting them in the studio together. They recorded the voice sessions. You have 4 kids just vibing, just having fun, teasing each other. That comes through in the performances. There is a looseness. There is a contemporary kind of energy. They are saturated in media, in, you know, our modern age, in TikTok and references. It feels and sounds like teens. They just happen to have shells and occasionally act as ninjas and go into battle.
I love that, the video, the behind the scenes kind of feels like the vibe when you guys come to town here. What did you think of it? How did you like the reboot and the vibe, Jackson?
I'll say I love how we're using vibe here. We also get sus, we also get broski. It's so like teen-centric, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is such a strange franchise because if you go back to the original, you mentioned the comic in the 80s, I believe 84, they were not fun and loose. These were some dark turtles. We played that clip at the beginning. They have no pupils there. They're really dark and almost brooding like Batman. That's a callback to the original. That is what this comic used to look like. Flashing forward, we then went to the 80s and 90s cartoon. That's when we got the Cowabunga. We got all the kind of...
Totally tubular.
That sort of stuff, right?
But why are they talking like California surfers? I don't understand.
But that is what this franchise has kind of struggled with all of these different movies. You mentioned 7. If you count it different ways, there might even be 9 or 11, depending on what you count as official. But they never really got what they're supposed to do. This is the perfect meld of all of those different things are brought in. And we get so many callbacks. The origin story is pulled right from the original comic, slightly tweaked. They're going to Eastman High, named after Kevin Eastman, the writer of the comic.
That's the comic.
Oh, there's the original comic that you can see how dark and scary, bleeding, rough they are. But this is the perfect perfect fusion of those two different styles, and I think they finally got it in what is a very long franchise for not actually ever really getting the
it's
tone.
taken 5 or as many as 11 to
been a lot of
finally
goes,
nail
been a
it.
lot
It's
of
been a lot
tries.
of lead up. But do you like the art style that they've landed on now?
My goodness, so that's not a callback. That's, its own thing. This is kind of, I think I'm going to imagine a outgrowth rather of how much everyone loves Spider-Verse. That itself is also, I believe, a hint that we all love traditional animation. We want to see hand-drawn stuff once again, and that's something that has been out of the ether for so long. But the art style here by a Canadian animation company.
Micros Animation and then Cinesight in Vancouver. So this is a Montreal and Vancouver company. And what is so amazing about this, you think of the creativity of the Into the Spider-Verse. We saw the same thing in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where we have these animated films now that are just bursting with visual ideas. Sometimes they look like a comic book, sometimes they look like a painted animated movie. This movie, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's inspired by sketchbooks. The idea, like when you were in class and you were bored and drawing on your notepad and you do like little doodles and stuff, this takes the life and the energy of those doodles and those sketches and then animates them. So you have this wonderful, vibrant, almost like living wall of graffiti. You will see little kind of colors and lines exploding out of the characters, and so it matches that exuberance and that energy of the teenagers in the art style, and it's just gorgeous. And again, they're taking risks, right? They're doing new things that we haven't seen done before.
This thing is so risky, but we love it. I might say, though, that this might be one of the risks that might maybe make the movie not as accessible to many people. I love it, you love it.
Yeah.
But I know many people hate, for example, claymation, stop motion, those kind of animation is something that you are noticing. I think this is a really, really cool risk, but whenever you're taking risks, you're gambling.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, what about the story? Who wants to tell us about whether the story matches the style? You want to start, Jackson?
Let's go to maybe the doom and gloom part.
Okay. What does that say?
Oh, it's doom and gloom. It's my style. I always have to bring
that's
it,
your vibe. All
always
right.
have to be a little bit negative.
Okay.
So if there's something that I do have to be a little bit doomy over, the story isn't something that I'm going to write home about. Let's say this is the Little Mermaid style story of I want to be up where the people are. That sort of aspect. That's what the
They're in the
Turtles want.
sewers and they want to be above.
That's what they want. We also saw it earlier this year with Nimona, somebody who feels outcast from the human society. We've seen it a bunch of times. This is a movie for kids, so that is something that we may be able to forgive. But also, you can always ask more from your content. You can always ask more from your movies. The story isn't something that I'm altogether super impressed by, but I will say, as a little caveat, my dad is famous in our family for always crying at movies. He cries at the end of It's a Wonderful Life every year for the past 20 years. We always make fun of him, and he's like, saccharine, all this sort of stuff. I was feeling a little twinge.
Really?
It almost got
TMNT.
me. So here's the thing. The Turtles
The Turtles?
The Turtles and April O'Neil. I'm not as much doom and gloom, and I thought, it might be a little basic, but this theme, which is what the movie's about, is about acceptance. Whether you're a mutant turtle or you're this high school reporter, April O'Neil, who just wants to be accepted by your peers, it is about finding that group and finally being celebrated for who you are. The Turtles want to be part of our lives. They've been watching New York City on YouTube. They want to be up in the air above and be, accepted and seen as the heroes they are. I thought it was actually quite moving. And I will say, I went to the film with my own very real teens. They were giggling from beginning
Were
to
they?
end. So this is a
always a good
movie
barometer.
with teens in the spotlight, made for teens. They are going to gobble this up like a Supreme
The
Pizza.
message. Okay, so you both have landed on the same number. So are we going to do this on 3? I don't know. Are you going to give us a number together? 1, 2, 3, 2,
4
4 stars.
5 stars.
4 out of
This is a
5.
great,
4
great
out of
movie.
5,
Yeah.
and a cowabunga to boot.
There you
Eli
go.
and
Absolutely.
Jackson, come back anytime. Thanks for visiting today.